The great hall stretched across 2 miles of polished crystal floor. 12 different alien species sat around the massive table that floated in the center of the room. Each delegate had traveled from their homeworld to attend this meeting. The air recyclers worked hard to keep the atmosphere breathable for all the different life forms present. Ambassador Jack Martinez stood at the edge of the observer platform. He wore his best diplomatic uniform and carried a small device that translated the alien languages. Today would decide if humans could join the Galactic Council. Earth had waited 50 years for this chance. The council speaker was a tall, thin creature from the Ethereal Federation. Its voice sounded like wind chimes when it spoke. We gather today to vote on the human application for membership. Each delegate will state their position. The first to speak was Commander Vextel from the Zephyrian Empire. His blue skin gleamed under the chamber lights. His forearms moved as he talked. The Zephyrians vote no. Humans are too violent. They fight wars on their own planet. They cannot be trusted with galactic peace. Jack felt his stomach drop. The Zephyrians were one of the most powerful council members. Their vote carried heavy weight. The crystalline collective delegate spoke next. Its body looked like living glass that changed colors with each word. We agree with the Zephyrians. Human military history shows constant conflict. They destroyed their own environment. They are not ready for galactic civilization. 2 votes against. Jack gripped the rail tighter. The Aquatic Confederation delegate floated in a water-filled sphere. Bubbles rose as it spoke through its translator. The oceans of Earth are dying. Humans poison their own world. How can we trust them with ours? 3 against. The speaker called on the Ethereal Federation delegate. Its form shimmered like heat waves. We vote yes. Humans show great potential. They learn quickly and adapt well. Every species deserves a chance to grow. Finally, a yes vote. Jack felt a small spark of hope. The Stone Builders delegate was a massive rock creature. Each word took several seconds to form. Humans build much too fast. They do not think before they act. We vote no. 4 against, 1 for. The Hive Mind Collective spoke as one through thousands of small insect-like creatures. Human individuality is chaos. They cannot work as one. They will disrupt council harmony. We vote no. 5 against. The Plant Network delegate was a collection of vines and flowers that moved like one being. Humans cut down forests. They kill plants for food and homes. We cannot support their membership. We vote no. 6 against. Jack realized the vote was already lost, but the process had to continue. The Energy Beings delegate appeared as a ball of pure light. Its words came as flashes of different colors. Humans consume too much energy. They waste resources. We vote no. 7 against. The Machine Consciousness delegate was a complex robot with dozens of arms and sensors. Human technology is crude but shows promise. However, their emotions make them unpredictable. We vote no. 8 against. The Void Walker's delegate seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Its form kept shifting. Humans fear the unknown. They shoot first and ask questions later. This makes them dangerous to peaceful exploration. We vote no. 9 against. The vote was decided. The Gas Giant Colony's delegate spoke through a device that made its atmospheric voice audible. Humans have short lives. They make quick decisions without thinking of long-term effects. We vote no. 10 against. The Deep Space Nomads delegate appeared as a collection of energy and matter from between the stars. Humans stay close to their sun. They fear deep space. They are not ready for the vastness of the galaxy. We vote no. 11 against. Only the Timekeepers remained. These ancient beings had existed for millions of years. Their delegate looked like a shifting pattern of lights and shadows. Time shows all truth. We have watched humans for centuries. They are violent, yes. They are destructive, yes. But they also have something rare. They never give up. They find new ways to solve problems. Still, they are not ready now. Perhaps in another 1,000 years. We vote no. 12 against, 1 for. The council speaker's voice rang through the chamber. The vote is complete. 12 delegations vote against human membership. 1 votes in favor. The human application is rejected. Jack felt the words hit him like a physical blow. 50 years of preparation, decades of diplomatic work, all for nothing. But the speaker was not finished. Furthermore, the Council votes to implement full economic sanctions against Earth. No Council member may trade with humans. No alien ships may visit Earth space. Humans are banned from all Council territories. This ban will remain in place permanently. The chamber erupted in alien sounds. Some delegates cheered. Others made noises of concern. Jack stood frozen in shock. This was worse than rejection. This was exile. Commander Vexthal stood and pointed one of his forearms at Jack. Let this be a lesson to all species who think they can join the Council through military strength. We choose peace over violence, cooperation over conflict. The galaxy is better without humans in it. Jack activated his communication device. This is Ambassador Martinez to Earth Command. The vote has failed. We are not just rejected. We are completely banned from Council space and trade. Repeat, we are now under full galactic embargo. The response from Earth came quickly. Understood, Ambassador? Return home immediately. All Earth ships are ordered back to Sol System. As Jack left the observer platform, he heard the delegates already discussing new trade agreements without human involvement. They seemed happy to divide up the markets that Earth had been building. The Zephyrians talked about taking over human mining operations in the outer systems. The Crystalline Collective wanted the rare metals that Earth had been supplying. The shuttle ride back to his ship gave Jack time to think. Earth had 7 billion. People who were about to learn they had been cut off from the galaxy. The growing space economy would collapse overnight. The new colonies would be stranded without supplies. Worse, any humans currently in Council. Space would be forced to leave or face imprisonment. Jack looked out at the stars as his ship prepared to jump to hyperspace. Earth had reached for the galaxy and been slapped down. The Council thought they had solved the human problem. They had no idea what they had just started. The jump to hyperspace began, carrying Jack and the devastating news back toward Earth. Behind him, the Council continued their meeting, already planning how to share the resources they had just taken from humanity. They felt safe in their decision. The dangerous humans were contained in their own solar system. They would learn too late how wrong they were. 6 months had passed since the Council vote. Earth felt like a different planet now. The space elevators that once carried goods from dozens of alien worlds stood empty. The orbital stations that had buzzed with interstellar commerce were quiet. Except for human traffic. Dr. Helen Carter walked through the empty halls of the Xenobiology Research Center in Geneva. Her footsteps echoed in spaces that once hummed with activity. The alien specimens were gone, sent back to their home worlds on the last transport ships allowed to leave Earth. Her life's work studying alien biology had ended overnight. Dr. Carter? A young assistant approached her with a tablet. The funding committee wants to see you at 3 o'clock. Helen nodded, but already knew what they would tell her. Without alien specimens to study, the xenobiology program had no purpose. The government was cutting funding to focus on more immediate needs. Food production, energy, basic survival in an isolated solar system. She looked out the window at Lake Geneva. At least it was clean again. Without the industrial pressure to produce goods for galactic trade, Earth had been forced to slow down. The environment was recovering faster than anyone expected. But that small comfort did little to ease the pain of losing contact with 12 different alien civilizations. Meanwhile, Captain Roy Bennett sat in the cantina of Terra Nova Station. The furthest human outpost from Earth, the station orbited a gas giant just inside the boundary of Council space. For the past 6 months, it had been a refugee camp for humans trying to get home. Roy stared at his coffee and watched the alien crew members, who had worked with him for 3 years, pack their belongings. The Aquatic Confederation had given them an ultimatum: leave the humans or face exile from their own homeworld. The choice was not hard for them to make. Captain Bennett, his first officer, a crystalline being named Shardval, approached his table. The creature's body pulsed with sad blue colors. My transport arrives in 1 hour, Roy looked up at his friend. They had explored 6 new star systems together. They had saved each other's lives more times than either could count. Now politics had torn them apart. I understand, Shard. Roy stood and offered his hand. The crystalline being touched it gently with one crystalline finger. Keep safe out there. You as well, Captain. Perhaps someday... Shardville's color shifted to hopeful green, then back to sad blue. Perhaps someday the council will change their minds. Roy watched his friend leave, knowing they would probably never see each other again. The other alien crew members followed. Soon, Terra Nova would be staffed entirely by humans, but for how long? Without trade, the station could not sustain itself indefinitely. Back on Earth, the economic collapse was hitting hard. Linda Thompson, CEO of Stellar Industries, stood in her office looking at financial reports that made her sick. Her company had employed 2 million people building ships and equipment for galactic trade. Now those contracts were canceled. The alien partners had stopped returning her calls. "Ma'am?" Her assistant knocked on the door. "The board meeting is ready to start." Linda walked into the conference room where 12 department heads waited. The holographic displays showed the damage in stark numbers. Stock value down 90%. Orders canceled across all sectors. 3 major facilities already shut down. "How long can we operate?" Linda asked her financial director. "At current burn rate, maybe 4 months. We need to cut costs immediately. That means laying off at least 60% of our workforce." Linda closed her eyes. 2 million jobs about to disappear. Families that would lose their homes. Children who would go hungry. All because the galactic community had decided humans were too dangerous to trade with. "What if we shift production?" asked the head of engineering. "Instead of building ships for exploration, we build them for defense." "Defense against who?" Linda snapped. "We're banned from council space. There's no one left to defend against except ourselves?" But even as she said it, Linda realized the engineer had a point. Earth was now alone in a hostile galaxy. They had no allies, no trade partners, no backup if something went wrong. Maybe defense production was exactly what they needed. In the lunar shipyards, construction had stopped on the 3 passenger liners that were supposed to carry tourists to alien vacation worlds. The half-built ships floated in zero gravity like metal skeletons. Workers who had spent years learning alien construction techniques now had no use for their skills. Foreman Pete Walsh looked at the abandoned construction site and felt anger building in his chest. His team had been the best in the solar system at building hybrid human-alien technology. They had taken pride in their work. Now they were told their skills were worthless. "Boss?" One of his welders floated over. "What do we do with all this alien tech?" Pete looked at the sophisticated components that had been imported from council worlds. Drive systems that could fold space. Energy weapons that could cut through any material. Defensive shields that could stop anything short of a star-going supernova. All of it useless now without replacement parts or technical support. "Strip it down," Pete said finally. "Take every piece apart. Figure out how it works. If we can't buy it from them anymore, we'll have to build it ourselves." The welder looked confused. "But boss, reverse engineering alien tech would take decades, maybe centuries." "Then we better get started." On the far side of the moon, a secret meeting was taking place in an abandoned mining facility. Katie Brooks, former council liaison officer, had called together 24 humans who had been working throughout council space when the ban was announced. Instead of returning to Earth like they were ordered, they had gone underground. "The council thinks all humans are back in Sol System," Katie told the group. "They're wrong. We're still out here. The question is, what do we do about it?" A mining engineer named Bill Parker spoke up. "I say we head home. This is too dangerous." "Home to what?" Katie asked. "Unemployment? Economic collapse? Earth is dying. Slowly, out here, we can make a difference." A trader named Amy Foster raised her hand. "I know where we can set up a base. There's an unclaimed system 3 jumps from here. No council presence, no monitoring stations. We could build something new." Katie nodded. "That's exactly what I was thinking." "The council wanted to get rid of us?" Fine, we'll build our own civilization, better than theirs. Not everyone was convinced? A doctor named Paul Rodriguez looked worried. If the council finds out we're still here, they'll hunt us down. We'll be labeled criminals. We're already criminals in their eyes, Katie said. The crime of being human. I say we embrace it. The vote was close, but Katie's plan won. 15 of the 24 chose to stay in hiding and work toward building secret human settlements. The others would return to Earth to share intelligence about council activities. As the meeting broke up, Katie looked out at the stars through the facility's cracked dome. The council thought they had contained humanity in one solar system. They had no idea that human determination was like water finding cracks in stone. It would flow into every empty space and eventually break apart even the strongest barriers. Back on Earth, President Maria Gonzalez stood in the Situation Room receiving reports from around the globe. The economic damage was spreading faster than projected. Unemployment was climbing toward 20%. Food riots had started in 3 major cities. The dream of joining galactic civilization had become a nightmare of isolation. Madam President, her military advisor spoke up. We're getting reports of increased council patrol activity near our borders. They're making sure we stay contained. Maria looked at the tactical display showing council ships positioned around the edges of the solar system. Not enough to invade, but enough to enforce the blockade. Earth was now a prison planet. Any word from our people still outside the system? She asked. Officially, they've all returned. Unofficially, The advisor smiled grimly. Some of our best people are still out there, working on contingency plans? Maria nodded. The council thought they had solved their human problem with a simple vote. They had no idea that they had just created a much bigger problem. Humans worked best when their backs were against the wall. The council was about to learn that lesson the hard way. 2 years had passed since the council vote. Earth looked different now. The despair that had gripped the planet in the first months after the embargo had transformed into something else. Determination, anger, and most importantly, innovation. Dr. Peter Walsh stood in his laboratory at the Geneva Institute, staring at the prototype engine that hummed quietly on the test bench. For 18 months, his team had worked day and night to reverse engineer the alien propulsion technology. They had failed dozens of times. Engines had exploded, test chambers had melted, and 3 researchers had spent weeks in the hospital after exposure to exotic radiation. But this one was different. This one worked. Peter, you need to see this. His assistant ran into the lab, carrying a tablet full of test data. The efficiency ratings are incredible. We're getting almost 70% of alien tech performance using nothing but Earth materials. Peter smiled for the first time in months. How long for a full-scale prototype? 6 months, maybe 8, but Peter, this changes everything. We don't need their rare elements anymore. We can build our own fleet. Across the facility, other teams were making similar breakthroughs. The weapons division had cracked the basics of energy projection. The defense team had figured out how to generate protective shields using Earth's magnetic field technology. The communications group had developed quantum transmitters that could reach across the galaxy without using council relay stations. It was slow work. The alien technology was centuries ahead of human science. But humans had something the aliens didn't. Desperation. When your entire species is cut off from the galaxy, you find ways to adapt that you never knew existed. In the asteroid belt, Katie Brooks floated in the control room of New Haven Station. What had started as a secret meeting in an abandoned mine had grown into something much larger. The hidden human settlement now housed over 5,000 people spread across 12 different asteroids and 3 small moons. Katie, we just got word from the mining teams on Series 7. Her deputy, Bill Parker, handed her a status report. They've found a massive deposit of rare Earth elements, enough to power our operations for decades. Katie nodded but kept her focus on the bigger picture. New Haven was just the beginning. Her network of underground humans had established 17 different settlements throughout council space. Each one was carefully hidden, usually in systems that the aliens considered worthless or too dangerous to visit. What about recruitment? Katie asked. Better than expected. We've got 300 new arrivals this month. Scientists, engineers, ex-military. All of them angry about what the Council did to Earth. All of them ready to build something new. Katie walked to the observation deck and looked out at the construction yards where human workers assembled ships using stolen alien technology and improvised Earth materials. The vessels were ugly compared to Council designs, but they worked. More importantly, they were invisible to Council sensors. The aliens had designed their detection systems to look for their own technology. They never expected humans to build something completely different. Ma'am? A communications officer approached her. We're receiving a coded transmission from Earth, Priority 1. Katie took the message pad and read the encrypted text. President Gonzalez was asking for a full report on human activities outside Sol System. More importantly, she wanted to know if the hidden settlements could support a larger population. Katie smiled as she began composing her reply. Earth's government was finally ready to admit that the official policy of compliance with Council demands was not working. The time for hiding was almost over. On Earth, General Frank Logan stood in the main briefing room of Strategic Command watching construction reports from around the globe. In 2 years, human industrial capacity had shifted completely. Instead of building luxury goods for alien markets, every factory was now focused on military hardware. General, the orbital shipyards are ahead of schedule, reported Colonel Amy Foster. We'll have our first battle cruiser operational in 3 months. Frank studied the ship designs on the main display. They were crude compared to Council vessels, but they were built for one purpose: survival in a hostile galaxy. Heavy armor, redundant systems, and weapons designed to kill alien technology. What about personnel? Recruitment is through the roof. Every young person who dreamed of exploring the galaxy is now signing up to fight for the right to do it. We've got more volunteers than we can train. Frank had expected that. The Council's rejection had hurt human pride deeply. An entire generation that had grown up thinking they would join galactic civilization now faced the reality that they would have to fight for it instead. Sir? An intelligence officer entered the room. We're getting reports of increased Council military activity. They're conducting joint exercises with multiple species. Looks like they're practicing coordinated fleet operations. Frank wasn't surprised. The Council was nervous. They had expected the human problem to disappear quietly. Instead, they were seeing signs that Earth was becoming more dangerous, not less. Orbital construction that could only be military. Communications traffic that suggested larger plans. Intelligence reports of humans operating outside Sol System despite the ban. Let them worry, Frank said. They made their choice. Now they get to live with the consequences. In the Lunar Research Facility, Dr. Helen Carter had found a new purpose for her expertise in alien biology. Instead of studying how alien species lived, she was now studying how they could be killed. Her team had dissected tissue samples from every Council species, looking for weaknesses that human weapons could exploit. Doctor, we've completed the analysis on Zephyrian physiology, her assistant reported. Their four-arm structure makes them vulnerable to sonic weapons. The right frequency could disrupt their nervous system completely. Helen made notes on her tablet. It felt wrong to use her knowledge this way, but the Council had made it clear that humans were not welcome in their galaxy. If there was going to be a conflict, she wanted humanity to win. What about the crystalline collective? Thermal shock. Their crystal structure can't handle rapid temperature changes. A focused heating beam followed by flash cooling would shatter them. Helen continued taking notes. Each species had evolved on different worlds with different challenges. Those evolutionary adaptations that made them strong in their home environments could become weaknesses when faced with human technology designed specifically to exploit them on the edge of Council space. Captain Roy Bennett commanded a fleet of 12 human ships that officially didn't exist. His vessels were registered as decommissioned, but they had been secretly upgraded with the best technology Earth could produce. Their mission was simple: watch and learn. "Captain, we're picking up a large council convoy," his sensor operator reported. "Looks like a trade fleet heading for the Zephyrian colonies." Roy studied the tactical display. 23 alien ships carrying goods between council worlds. The kind of convoy that would have included human vessels 2 years ago. Now humans weren't even allowed to observe them, let alone participate. "Can we track them without being detected?" "Yes, sir. Our new stealth systems are working perfectly. The aliens can't see us unless we want them to." Roy ordered his ships to follow at a safe distance. They weren't ready to take action yet, but intelligence gathering was crucial. Every convoy they tracked, every patrol they observed, every weakness they discovered would be important when the time came to act. "Sir?" His communications officer looked puzzled. "I'm picking up a distress signal from the convoy. Looks like they're under attack." Roy watched as unknown ships emerged from hyperspace around the council convoy. The attacking vessels were unlike anything in the databases. Black, angular, and absolutely vicious in their assault on the council ships. "Who are they?" Roy asked. "Unknown, sir." "But they're tearing the convoy apart?" Roy watched 3 council ships die in as many minutes. The attackers moved with a coordination that suggested hive mind intelligence. They disabled ships with surgical precision, then boarded them. Within an hour, the entire convoy was captured or destroyed. "Captain, should we assist the council ships?" Roy thought about it for a long moment. The smart play was to let the aliens deal with their own problems, but something about the attacking ships bothered him. They fought like they were consuming the council vessels, not just capturing them. "No," Roy decided. "We observe and report, but mark this location. Whatever those ships are, they're not friendly to anyone." As the unknown attackers disappeared into hyperspace with their captured vessels, Roy realized that the galaxy was more dangerous than anyone had suspected. The Council had rejected humanity to maintain their peaceful civilization. But peace was an illusion when predators lurked in the dark between stars. Roy ordered his fleet back to the hidden base to report what they had seen. The Council thought their biggest problem was containing the humans. They had no idea what else was waiting for them in the darkness. Back on Earth, President Gonzalez read the intelligence reports with growing concern. The galaxy was not the stable, peaceful place the Council pretended it was. Unknown threats were emerging from unexplored regions. The delicate balance that kept the peace was starting to crack. Madam President, her chief of staff, entered the office. "The military is requesting permission to accelerate the shipbuilding program. They won 3 years after the human ban. The first cracks in galactic peace began to show." Commander Vexthal stood in the Zephyrian Defense Command Center watching displays that showed chaos spreading across the Outer Rim territories. Red warning lights flashed as reports came in from 12 different sectors. "Commander, we're receiving another distress call from the Krell Mining Consortium," his aide reported. "That's the 3rd attack this week." Vexthal studied the tactical display with growing unease. The Skorten Empire had always been aggressive, but they had been contained by careful diplomacy and strategic human peacekeeping forces. With the humans gone, that balance had collapsed completely. "What is our current response capability in that sector?" "Limited, sir. We withdrew our patrol vessels 6 months ago when the attack started. The losses were too heavy." Vexthal felt his 4 stomachs tighten with worry. The Zephyrian military was strong but designed for defensive operations. They had never needed to project power across multiple sectors simultaneously. The humans had handled that kind of rapid response with their aggressive tactics and mobile fleet doctrine. In the council chambers, Ambassador Morgoth of the Ethereal Federation presented disturbing statistics to the emergency session. His shimmering form displayed holographic charts that made several delegates visibly uncomfortable. "Piracy incidents have increased by 300% since the human ban," Morgoth announced. "Trade route security has collapsed in 7 sectors. We are losing more ships each month than we lost in the previous 5 years combined." The crystalline collective delegate pulsed with angry red colors. This is temporary. The galaxy is adjusting to new security arrangements. What new security arrangements? Morgoth asked pointedly. The humans provided rapid response capabilities that we have not replaced. Their patrol networks covered regions that we now cannot monitor. The Aquatic Confederation delegate floated nervously in its water sphere. The humans were violent and unpredictable. Their methods were crude. Their methods were effective, Morgoth replied. A crude solution that works is better than an elegant solution that fails. Commander Vexthal had not spoken during this exchange, but now he stood to address the council. I must report that the Skortan Empire has expanded their territory by 40% in the past year. They have conquered 6 independent worlds and enslaved their populations. Our diplomatic protests have been ignored. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. The Skortan had been a minor threat for decades, contained by the constant presence of human military advisors and rapid response teams. Without that deterrent, they had become bold. What does our military assessment suggest? Asked the Energy Beings delegate. Vexthal hesitated before answering. A full military response would require coordination between 8 council fleets. The logistics alone would take months to arrange. By then, the Skortan will have consolidated their gains and moved on to new targets. The plant network delegate rustled with concern. The humans could respond to threats like this within days. The humans were reckless, the stone builders. Delegate rumbled slowly. They attack and denegotiate later. Sometimes that approach prevented larger conflicts, Morgoth observed. Better a small war now than a large war later. But the most disturbing news was yet to come. Deep space monitor stations had detected massive ships emerging from the void. Between galaxies, the vessels were unlike anything in Council databases. They moved with purpose toward populated sectors, leaving destroyed worlds in their wake. Dr. Shantik of the Machine Consciousness had analyzed the limited data available about these ships. Its mechanical voice clicked and whirred as it presented its findings to the Council. The attacking vessels appear to be biological in nature. They consume matter and energy from their targets. 3 star systems have gone completely dark after their passage. No survivors, no debris, nothing remains. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate understood the implications. Something was hunting civilized species, and it was moving toward Council space. How long before they reach our outer territories? Asked the Timekeeper's delegate. Current trajectory suggests 6 months, Dr. Shantek replied. However, their speed appears to be increasing as they consume more resources. Vexthal felt all 4 of his hearts racing. The Void Hunters were an ancient legend, stories told to frighten young Zephyrians. The idea that they might be real was terrifying. Worse, the traditional Council response of diplomacy and defensive formations would be useless against creatures that only understood consumption. What would the humans have done? Morgoth asked quietly. The question hung in the air like an accusation. Everyone knew the answer. Humans would have mounted an immediate offensive. They would have tracked the creatures to their source and destroyed them before they could grow stronger. It was exactly the kind of aggressive, violent response that had convinced the Council to ban humanity in the first place. On the hidden station New Haven, Katie Brooks received intercepted Council communications that confirmed her worst fears. The galaxy was falling apart without human involvement. The careful balance of power that had maintained peace was collapsing. Katie, we're getting reports from our intelligence network, Bill Parker told her. Council shipping has decreased by 60%. Independent colonies are requesting protection that the Council can't provide. Some worlds are talking about leaving the Alliance entirely. Katie studied the strategic display that showed human hidden settlements scattered throughout Council space. In 3 years, they had grown from a few thousand refugees to a shadow civilization of nearly 50,000 people. They had technology, resources, and most importantly, they had remained invisible to Council detection. What about the attacks? From outside the galaxy, our deep space monitors confirm it. Something is eating entire star systems. The council response has been to form committees to study the problem. Katie almost laughed. While mysterious predators consumed worlds, the council was holding meetings. It was exactly what she had expected from the aliens who thought violence was never the answer. Ma'am? A communications officer approached. We're receiving a coded transmission from Earth, flash priority. Katie read the message twice before its implications sank in. President Gonzalez was authorizing Operation Lighthouse. After 3 years of official compliance with the council ban, Earth was ready to reveal that humans had never really left. Bill, activate all sleeper cells. I want every hidden settlement ready for coordinated action within 72 hours. Katie, are you sure about this? Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. Katie looked at the intelligence reports, showing galactic civilization crumbling. There's no going back anyway. The council created this situation when they decided they didn't need humans. Now they're going to learn what the galaxy looks like without us. On Earth, General Frank Logan stood in the Strategic Command Center watching the final preparations for humanity's return to galactic affairs. The shipyards had produced over 200 warships in 3 years. More importantly, they had developed new technologies that no alien species had ever seen. General, all fleet elements report ready, Colonel Amy Foster announced. We have ships positioned throughout council space waiting for your orders. Frank studied the tactical display showing human forces that officially didn't exist. Captain Roy Bennett's reconnaissance fleet had mapped every council patrol route. Katie Brooks's hidden settlements controlled key strategic resources. Dr. Peter Walsh's technology teams had cracked alien communication codes. Sir, an intelligence officer approached with a priority message. We're getting reports of massive ship movements in the void, whatever's out there. It's heading for the council core worlds. Frank read the report and felt a cold certainty settle in his chest. The galaxy was about to face a threat that required exactly the kind of aggressive response the council had rejected. The aliens had banned humans for being too violent. Now their survival might depend on that violence. Send a message to all fleet commanders, Frank ordered. Operation Lighthouse is authorized. It's time to remind the galaxy that humans are still here. In his private quarters, Commander Vexthal stared at intelligence reports that painted a picture of inevitable disaster. The Skorten Empire was massing fleets for a major offensive. The mysterious Void Hunters were 6 months away from Council space. Pirates controlled trade routes that had been safe for centuries, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, humans were planning their return. Vexthal had voted to ban humanity because he believed they were too dangerous for galactic peace. Now he wondered if they might be the only thing dangerous enough to save it. His communication device chimed with an incoming message from Deep Space Monitoring Station. The text was brief but terrifying. Contact lost with Kepler Station. Last. Transmission reported massive ships approaching. No survivors detected. The Void Hunters had arrived 6 months early. Vexthal reached for his emergency communication device to alert the Council. But before he could send the message, his long-range sensors detected something impossible. Human ships were already moving to intercept the Void Hunters. Ships that weren't supposed to exist, crewed by people who weren't supposed to be. Roy studied the tactical display. A council convoy of refugee ships was trapped between 2 Void Hunter fleets. In minutes, they would all be dead. Standard council doctrine called for retreating and regrouping. Human doctrine called for something else entirely. All ships attack formation, we're going in. Sir, our orders are to observe only. Roy smiled grimly as his ships powered weapons and moved toward the battle. Our orders just changed? Humanity is officially back in the business of keeping the galaxy safe. As human ships engaged the Void Hunters for the first time, using tactics and weapons that no alien species had ever seen, the balance of galactic power shifted permanently. The Council had wanted no humans. Now they were about to discover that humans were